My name's Mike Wooldridge. I'm the Ashall Professor of the Foundations of Artificial Intelligence at the University of Oxford. No, not at all. And I think the truth is, most experts in the field didn't expect the progress that we've made. So it's been startling, it's impressive, it's gratifying, it's unnerving, but it's important to remember that this progress is in part a consequence of just how much money is being invested in AI. It's not just scientific advances that are driving this. It's the enormous amounts of computer power and data that are being thrown at AI, and just the massive investment that's coming from Silicon Valley into pushing this technology forward. And that's just as important for accounting for the progressions in the field as advances in science. So I think there's a wide range of applications, but I think the single point that I would make about applications in education is about productivity. It's about enabling teachers to focus on their jobs and do their jobs more professionally and more efficiently than just would be the case otherwise. So a beautiful example would be a teacher preparing some materials for a one-to-one tuition with a kid. Now in classrooms in the United Kingdom, the class typically has 30 kids in it, and the teacher just doesn't have time to individually prepare materials for all of the kids. But with generative AI, if the teacher knows about the child, for example, knows that they have a special interest in football or a special interest in cars, they can use that with generative AI to generate teaching materials specifically focused around those interests, just in a matter of minutes. And that really enriches the learning experience for the child. And it just wouldn't be feasible without generative AI. You know, teachers with a class of 30 don't have time at the moment to generate one-to-one personalized materials for each child in the class. So the biggest risk, I think, is that governments and the public believe that this means you can do without teachers, and that absolutely isn't the case. This is a technology that teachers can use to make them better teachers and more productive teachers and raise the quality of education, not a technology to replace teachers. That's absolutely not what it's about. So I think we have to accept it would be completely unrealistic to suppose that students would not use these tools. Of course they're going to use generative AI. There's no point in trying to rewind back to before generative AI happened. So we have to think about how they can use it to make themselves better students, how they can improve their own education. And I don't see any harm in students using the tool to produce essays and so on, as long as we provide guidelines about how it can be used. And the most important single guideline is never ever passing off AI generated content as if it was your own, as if you produced it. That's the absolute baseline on top of which we build. So we're still in the process of figuring out how these tools can be used, the best way of using them. But there are many, many ways. But we absolutely can't rewind to, before these technologies happen. It would just, that's naive to imagine that. We can't rule against kids using this. So what are the right ways that we can enable kids to use this to improve their own educational experience in a responsible way? So I think one of the most important skills that kids have to learn is the ability to question what they're told. And in AI terms, you don't just accept the answers that AI gives you. AI gets things wrong a lot, and you have to be prepared to question what you're given and to dig into it. This is a really, really important skill. But also to understand that, when you ask generative AI for a solution to a problem, the first thing it gives you may not be the solution, that it's a process of working through that to make sure to have confidence in the solution that you're given, to work through that and to ensure that you've got the best solution that's there. But I say, if I had to give one skill, it's just question what you're being given. Don't just accept it at face value. So I'm an optimist. I think for many, many professions, AI is just going to be a tool that people use in exactly the same way that they use the World Wide Web or email or word processing tools at the moment. So there will be some professions that will be more affected than others. But for example, some of the professions that I think are fundamentally not going to be affected anytime soon are professions that require skilled manual dexterity in the real world. So carpenters, laborers who work with their hands in difficult, challenging situations. Those kinds of roles I think are going to be safe. Roles that involve close contact with human beings, understanding human beings, being able to relate to other human beings and understand things from their perspective. And teachers are one example of that, I think. Being a teacher is not just about standing up in front of a class and talking to them. It's about understanding your students and what they're good at, what they're not good at, and so on, and adapting what you're doing to meet the specific requirements of each child. So those kind of roles I think are going to be safe. Yeah, I think what shaped me as an academic, as well as an educator, is that I grew up in a household of books. My parents were avid book readers, my brothers were avid book readers, and reading was how I spent much of my youth. And this passion for books led to, in my case, I was really interested in science fiction books, and that gave me a passion for science, but it also gave me a passion for communication. And I've written a number of books. I enjoy writing books, and actually I view that writing books as the pinnacle of achievements of things that I've done. So it's that being brought up in an environment of books and so on was just so important for me. It just shaped me as a human being. It shaped me as an academic. Very lively. So I've been running a workshop on AI in education, and lots of questions and lots of ideas, lots of different perspectives from people with lots of different experiences around the world of education, but this deep commitment to doing the best that we can do with education, and how do we all achieve that. And it was exhausting running this workshop, but it was also great fun, and I came away like I felt I knew a bit more about the concerns of educators around the world. And it's just amazing how much commonality there is in experience around the world. So very fun, very tiring, very lively.